Okay, so we're going to do number 18 in Ready, Set, Go for 7.7. And they say find the exact value of the function given that sine of u is 5 over 13 and cosine of v is negative 3/5. And the very first thing you should always do whenever you get problems like this is draw your triangle. Except for here, we have two triangles, so I'm going to actually draw both of them. So here's going to be my u triangle, and then here's going to be my v triangle. And notice here, this information says both u and v are in quadrant 2. Both u and v are in quadrant 2. So you should just be drawing some triangle. It doesn't have to be scale factored perfectly. It just needs to be to the point where you see it. So v says negative 3/5. And some of you are like, Ms. Johnson, does the negative go to the numerator or to the denominator? So remember that cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse, your radius of your circle, can never be negative. So that means your adjacent is negative 3 and your hypotenuse is 5. So you might as well just figure out that third side. How would you figure out that third side? Yeah, Pythagorean theorem. Some of you know your triples, so this actually turns out to be 3, 4, 5. If you didn't know that, Pythagorean theorem would have told you that. Don't worry about not knowing that. I would just Pythagorean theorem that. The next one, I would also draw the next one as like this. Ms. Johnson, those two triangles look awfully similar. It's okay. Ms. Johnson does not draw triangles to scale. So go ahead and label that triangle and find your third side. I'll give you a couple seconds. Okay, so as you fill this in, just be careful. There's a reason why they told you it's in the second quadrant. There is a reason why they told you he's in the second quadrant. Okay. So your directions for these types of problems is pretty much the same. Draw your triangle, label your triangle. Okay, and then check your signs is always going to be the one that I always tell you towards the end. So if the u is opposite over hypotenuse, right? Opposite over hypotenuse. This is 5 and this is 13. If you wrote 12 here, you'd be wrong. You'd be wrong, right? So the reason why it's wrong is because because you're going left, it's negative, right? And that makes sense. So then I could just use the cosine, like the addition identity, which off the top of my head, I think is cosine, sine, sine. And then if this is a plus, then this is a minus because cosine is backwards. I'm going to assume that this is right. Could someone look that up for me? All right. So then I just plop in my u and my v. So this is going to be u, v, v. Right? Right. It's making me nervous. I'm going to go look up my identity really quick. Cosine, sine. I am right. Because it was plus, then I use minus. I was right. Yay me. Okay. So then I'm just going to plug stuff in. So I need to find the cosine of this guy. The cosine of this guy is negative 12 over 13, which is, aren't you glad you made sure that that was negative? Right? Because if it's positive, do you see how your answer is not going to be wrong? Right? And then now find the sine of this, which is fine because that's 5 over 13. That's something that they gave us. And then I'm going to go in here and fill in the same information. So go ahead and do that. Cosine V and sine V. Go ahead and take a couple seconds to do that. All right, so now that you're back, so cosine would be negative 3/5, which is nice because that's what they told you. I'm going to put parentheses around there so you remember that we're multiplying. And the sine of V would be 4/5. And then that minus is still there. And then I'm just going to multiply and simplify. So here is negative 12 times negative 3 is 36 minus 20 divided by 65. So what is that? 16 over 65. Can I simplify that? 16 over 65. Nope, I can't. That's 4281. No. So there's your answer. So what was the hard part about this one? I think the hard part about this one was you remembering your signs. So you're going to go back and check your signs. In the second quadrant, right, you have all students take calculus. The only one that should have been positive here was your signs. The cosines should have been negative. And as you can see here and here, they're positive. And here, the cosines were negative. So we're good. I checked my signs. So for the most part, this problem right here is a lot more doable because they gave you everything. They gave you the sine, they gave you the two parts, right? As opposed to this problem up here, you had to labor to find what two angles would create that same negative 13 pi over 12. Right here, they gave them to you. They gave you the U, they gave you the V. And you're like, hey, Miss Johnson, they didn't even tell us what angles U and V were valued at, like which radian or which degree. You don't have to know that, right? Because they just wanted you to find the cosine of it. So there's my answer. It's 16 over 65. Do you notice how you could not use your calculator on this one? Does everybody see how you can't use your calculator on this one? So don't rob yourself by continuously jumping to the calculator to find an answer, because there are certainly problems that you would not be able to find your answer using this. So again, the hardest part about this one, or the place where students make the most mistakes that I've seen, is their signs. So once you draw it, double check. Double check. In order to get to this point right here, when I go left, oh shoot, he's negative. I need to make sure he's negative. In order to get to this point up here, oh shoot, he's negative. And that, I will tell you, is the biggest place where I and most math students will make a mistake on, because you're so into, I got to jump to cosine, cosine, sine, sine, that I'm forgetting about my signs. Okay. Thanks for listening.